That was actually not a ghost. If that makes it, I need to just let myself know if I'm like, whoa, what was that? Well, it was me burping into my elbow.
Did I share with you the other day about hearing noises in my house?
No, I don't think so.
I didn't text you about that?
No. What? I don't remember you talking to me about that, but I do remember like me hearing noises in my house, so I hope I'm just not getting the stories confused. So tell me, what did you hear?
When did you hear noises?
I hear shit downstairs all the time. Like, and well, I say all the time, but it's all the time when nobody else is fucking here. Like, even the
Right.
dog reacted one time. She went and hid underneath the bar stools. And I'm like, oh, you hear that shit too. I know you do because you're acting like a chicken and you're hiding. If you didn't hear that shit, you would have kept laying right down. But I hear like the door opening downstairs and like it sounds like somebody's here. You know, it sounds like somebody's coming in.
That's so fucking scary. Like when I heard the laundry door a minute ago and it's like nobody's coming and it's like, that's not good. Well, I heard some pretty loud noises the other night and I woke up in the middle of it. So I think to myself, okay, maybe that's just me, like, you know, half awake, dreaming and then waking myself up.
Oh.
I set up and I see the cat still there. And so I know it's not the cat and the dogs are in the rooms with the boys and maybe they could be at the door, but it like happened again. I was just listening to it and it sounded like it was all in the living room. Whoa. But mine is so minor to like, and definitely didn't go see what it was. As it just sat there and acknowledged it kind of, it stopped and then it didn't happen again. And I was like, okay, I'm going back to sleep. Like I just tried to tell myself it's the dogs, I guess. But you also keep watching the doorway and you're like, when are they coming through? When is it going to show up? Or is it already in here? And that's why I don't really hear it anymore.
I just like you saying you're laying in bed and you're just waiting for something to come through. I mean, when I'm here and I'm hearing stuff, especially when I'm like, I woke up from sleep, I'm not in ghost hunter mode. I'm in fuck you guys, I'm trying to sleep mode. So I'm like, I will wake up but not open my eyes and just listen for a second and reason things out. Like it's an animal or house shifting. It's something outside. You know, I reason it out so that I can just go back to sleep. When we're somewhere and we're like at the Myrtles and I'm like, it's freezing. It's because it's a ghost. Or maybe 5. They're all around the bed.
And you're just waiting like, hey guys, what's up?
Right, exactly.
But when you're not ready for it because it's your own space and you spend so much time there, so you're like, no, nothing's happening here. Because it feels so normal all the time, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't feel normal.
Yeah.
And it's so you get kind of caught off guard.
Yeah. You know, I follow a bunch of different people on Instagram, and there are some people that really, really, really feel like their workplace is haunted, and they get there early in the morning just to take pictures of their workplace, and that's kind of a creepy feeling. Could you imagine being at work like type, like I hate this place, I'm doing my job, and I'm doing this report or whatever the hell it is that you do at your job, and then all of a sudden you're like, is someone watching me? It's not my boss or a coworker. What is that feeling that I'm having? Like you're just at work and then you feel a presence. Like how weird would that be? Like I couldn't work. I'd be like, I'd have the recorder out on my desk.
They think my work is haunted though.
They do?
Yeah, like when I first started working there, 3 years ago, and I was working at the front and then people were pretty quickly, I talked with a girl and she was real comfortable with it. She has abilities that she doesn't like to explore, but they seem to exist. And so she was telling me something, kind of a half story of that, but she was being real shy and embarrassed about it. And then I was like, you don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
And then so
right.
I was like, this is what I like. This is what I do. And she opened up and told me a lot more. And then she's like, oh my gosh, do you know this place is haunted? And I was like, no, but I'm so happy I took this job.
Right.
Tell me more.
Wow.
What if we only got jobs based on whether they were haunted or not? We should have made that standard for ourselves a long time ago.
I should have put that on our resume. Yeah. That's the objective. I only want to work here if it's haunted.
When you're in an interview for a job and they're always like, do you have any questions? I never have questions. I'm like,
is this place haunted?
Yeah, I never have questions because I'm like trying to sell myself to you. So
Right,
I don't
exactly.
really have much. I've researched your company enough to be here. So
Right.
I don't really have any other questions.
I'm just looking
Maybe
for a
something
job.
they said brings it up. But
Yeah.
from now on, that's the goal. If I
Yeah.
ever leave my job and go for another one, I'm going to be like, well, does your building happen to be haunted? And when they're like, not that I know of, like, bummer.
Bummer.
I don't know if I can accept this job then.
But you know what? That'd be a really fun way to end the interview if you already know that you've bombed it. So,
Or if you're not interested, like you thought that it was something that it wasn't. Yeah.
yeah,
And you're just
yeah.
like, let's just fuck this up. Yeah. They're like, do you have any other questions? Yeah. Who's the guy all in black that hasn't spoken this whole time? Like,
That's a
what?
good one. Yeah.
I sense this guy right here. Did you lose a grandfather named George? Like, bitch is crazy. Or they're really into it and you get the job in a corner office. You never know. You never know what people are into. So,
Good advice,
but
Wendy.
yeah, they say my office is haunted. People have seen the people in the waiting room, like
What?
when they're there first thing in the morning to like turn on the lights and everything. They said they've seen people in the waiting room that then just like disappear.
Wow.
And so I've been there for 3 years, and this is all that I got for you so far is that I swear one time I have 2 monitors on my desk. I think you do too.
Yep.
But I tend to face only one monitor, and that puts my back at the door kind of. Well, I was on the phone looking at that monitor, and I just immediately felt like someone was right behind my chair. And I like spun around. I went this way, like the other way, because that's not towards the door, but I did like a what do they call it? Like a 360 around, because I felt like they were on my left side and there was nobody there. So I ended up just kind of doing that 360 in my chair. And then the whole time I'm on the phone with somebody and I was like, oh my God, I just thought somebody was behind me and there's nobody there.
Wow.
Like I could have swore I saw somebody out of my, what do you call it?
Your peripheral? Yeah.
Yeah, vision on the left side, and there was nobody in the room.
Wow.
But because I sit like that sometimes with my with my back to my desk, once or twice, there's been evil coworkers that have come up and like grabbed my chair and stuff. So that's what I thought was about to happen. And I spin around and nobody's there. And then another time I thought I've heard somebody say my name, and then I look up at the door and it was almost like I watched a shadow or whatever kind of move away from the door.
Whoa.
As if they were looking into the room and then they were gone, But there's so many damn people in there. And so, so many other people they could be calling Wendy or whatever. I wrote that one off, but because I was like, my eyes just could have been, but that other time it felt really weird.
Yeah.
It felt really real.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how it would be easy to dismiss something like that in a workplace because you have a lot of people that are walking around and like you said, fucking with you. Basically, you got coworkers that are just being assholes.
Yes. Kevin.
So.
Who listen to this. Did that one time though and scared the shit out of me. I was really going to turn around and smack the fuck out of him when I realized who it was.
Well, shame on Kevin.
Probably won't listen to this ever. Hear this name was dropped either.
I was just going to say, Kevin ruined our conversation. Let's just talk about our podcast instead.
Yeah, because we do a big Creatures of the Night podcast, and I'm Wendy.
And I'm Chris.
There, good. We got that out of the way.
Done.
So, do you want me to tell you a story?
Yes, I'm ready for a story. What you got?
I feel like I'm not going to have enough wine to get through this entire thing,
Uh-oh.
so we might have a wine break somewhere between.
Okay.
Just heads up. You won't know because we'll edit it out, listeners.
That's true.
Okay. So I just want to point out so that people know that we record this show weeks before they're released.
Right.
As you probably, you probably figured it out because for the last 3 episodes we've been in New Orleans. We have not been in New Orleans for the last 3 weeks. I wish we were, but it's not, or in Louisiana. We've not been in Louisiana for the last 3 weeks, and our first 3 episodes were all in Louisiana. So I bet you figured that out already, but we record these in advance.
Right.
So that gives us time to edit. And speaking of editing, we just want to throw out there that we are new at this. And I know for sure, and this is coming 3 weeks later, so sorry, the apology is late, but in the first episode, I was like a million miles away from my mic and did not know it. So, sorry, but we work so hard on this, and we spend we love these stories that by the time we deliver them and everything, we're doing our very best in the editing to make it sound good, to give you the story. We hate to have to scrap it. So
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're doing a good job. I want to say real quick before you say whatever you're saying that gold star to you, because you've taken on some of the hardest podcasts and made them sound fantastic to me. And I'm so
Wow.
glad that we get to hold on to those stories too. So
Yeah.
thank
Well, we'll see. I haven't done them all yet. You're welcome.
I know you can do it.
Right. And I was just going to say, don't get upset if we're not saying happy Columbus Day or happy Thanksgiving or whatever, because we're recording this, like Wendy said, well in advance. So just know that we're with you on those holidays.
Yeah, so we're a little delayed on what's going on in the rest of the world once these
Yes.
things are sent out. But lucky for us, we don't touch on what's going on in the real world just
True.
too often. It's not a place that we like to really exist.
That's right.
So let me see, what other kind of housekeeping did I want to say to you? Okay, so the recording that we're doing right now, this is the one that we expect. Well, I damn sure hope it will, because it's all themed out. It's going to release the week of Halloween, our favorite fucking holiday. So
Don't do any happy Halloweens, because I already said that we're not doing any.
Nope. So in honor, though, of All Hallows Eve, it's a holiday that we both celebrate, and I would say that it is pronounced Samhain. Nope, that's not right. Samhain. I'm fucking this up. Do you know that I typed it into Google and had Google tell me how to say it before this podcast started, and I still can't remember. I need Chris to help me with things, but you know what this is. It's Samhain.
Samhain. That's how I say it, but I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, but I call it Samhain.
So I saw something that said you pronounce it like Sowen, but then when I put it into Google, that's not how it sounded either. But it didn't sound like Sam.
I never even thought about it. Honest to God, I see it all the time, and I just assumed it was Samhain.
Yeah, for some reason, the first part of it is, it said it was pronounced, or the way that you phonetically would say it was SOW, and then like the little hyphen mark or whatever,
Yeah.
WIN. So I'm like, Sowen, right? But then when I put it into Google, it didn't quite say it that way either. So the next time you hit Salem up, ask somebody, because I know they know.
Please pronounce this for me.
I feel so embarrassed, but I do that to people a lot, like people I really know and then I'm comfortable with. And I'm like, just say this word for me. Don't, because I'm so afraid of saying it wrong. I just almost don't attempt to say it at all myself, and I won't help. Anyways, so Halloween originates with the ancient fuck.
Wow, the ancient fuck. Wow, this is going to be a good story.
Ooh, that's a different kind of podcast. So it originates with the Celtic festival of the word we're trying to pronounce. So Samhain or Samhain. Samhain, I think, is what I heard.
I saw that when I Googled it just now.
That would make more sense. Samhain?
That's the MANX language. I don't even know what that is. Manx language, Samhain. So it says also called Samhain, HUINN /Samhain, which is Scottish Gaelic.
So maybe that's why you're taking that kind of route with it.
Maybe.
But this day is marked as the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of the year that is. Why do you say that?
Because I'm sorry, I'm sidetracked here. The lady that I work with, Joyce, who I love, she hates fall. I love fall. I absolutely adore it. I love the changing of the leaves. I love the cool, crisp air. She hates it. She despises it. And she says it's because it's a sign of winter coming. And it's so funny because you just said, what does it mean again? It's the sign of the cold darkness.
Well, I mean, this is at the end of October. It was October 31st originally by the Celtic people, and then, kind of transferred to November 2nd, and I mean 1st to 2nd. So this is the colder months. Like, by the time it's October 31st in your hood, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous.
It's cold now.
I'm looking at fucking snow.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of the year that is often associated with woe. I wrote health. That was supposed to be death.
Wow.
Where did I get that from?
Talk about putting a positive spin on things.
What is wrong with me? So the Celtic people associated this dark, cold winter with death. Celtics believed that on the night before the new year being November 1st, the boundaries between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. Because the Celtics worried the evil spirits would also be present, they wore costumes to dress as evil spirits or the more demonic spirits to kind of disguise themselves and help protect themselves as those spirits roamed the earth as well. They wanted to blend in. So they were like, no, I'm one of you. Don't worry about it.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's sort of like one of those movies about like the zombies where they're like, no, we'll just like,
yeah, and cover themselves with the guts and stuff like that. I mean, they were smart.
We're good. Shaun of the Dead. I think it was Shaun of the Dead where they did
I love that movie.
Right.
It's the greatest.
Yeah.
They also believed this like thinning between the worlds aided in making predictions about the future. Like something about it was just an incredibly magical time. So not only could past souls come through and then even the bad souls, but also like psychic energy was heightened. So they would go to the Druids, or they would look to the Druids to kind of tell them about the coming long winter and what's going to happen in the new year and stuff. So their way of doing that was that they would build large bonfires, and then they would bring offerings to all the Celtic deities, and then they would look for answers and guidance to what they needed to do. So not only was it like a ghost fest, but it was like a psychic time. And so It was like any questions you had, throw it in the bowl. We're going to get that taken care of. And then also look around for crazy Uncle Pete, he might be showing up, and then watch out for that bad guy that like was killing everybody last year. He's probably a bad soul. A lot of crazy shit was going on.
Wow.
So it was just a magical night between the good and the bad and looking towards the future. And then around 43 AD, which they don't call it AD anymore, do they?
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. I don't know anything about that changing.
Oh, yeah. They just completely changed it. So they can make it religious neutral, I would assume. And so, because after death and then before Christ and stuff like that, they were like, before this and before that. I don't know.
So maybe dinosaurs? Is that what it is?
I wish everything revolved around those damn dinosaurs because they deserve it.
I know.
But no, it wasn't that. I don't remember what it was, but it's out there and it's different now. But in 43 AD is the year we're going to use. The Roman Empire had a larger influence on the Celtics because they were taking over shit. But they kind of impressed upon their holidays and whatnot. And they had a holiday that was kind of similar, but it was more about honoring those that had passed away. So before, the Celtic people were just kind of afraid of all the bad shit that could have came out. I'm sure they were also aware, I guess, good spirits are out, but they were more worried about protecting themselves. Or they, listen, I have a tiny drop of Irish blood in here, and I am the most like superstitious. Don't walk under ladders. You try to do as little as possible on Friday the 13th. If you break a mirror, oh my God, it's just fucking over with. So I'm with all these Celtic people that they were like, this is going to be a crazy fucking night. We need to worry about protecting ourselves. Like you said, it's a zombie apocalypse. That's what they were focused on. Romans, they're not romanticizing it, but they're making it more family oriented. So they're like, this is also a time that our loved ones can come through. So we should honor them. So the Celtics were like, that sounds cool. We can do that too. Maybe it'll help us focus less on, the evil shit that's walking around. So they started to being like, cool. They set a place for their loved ones at dinner, and they put out offerings kind of for them as well as the Celtic deities.
Okay.
So then in colonial America, thanks to, the ones that founded the country and that they were, what were they? They were super religious, whatever they were. I forget. I'm going to say the wrong thing is what's wrong. I don't want to have it come out of my mouth. But they were super religious, so Halloween wasn't necessarily their thing. So it got a really slow start in the Americans. But there were people that were coming over that was kind of like, do you remember that holiday? That was kind of fun. So they started doing kind of festivals around the same time, and they would tell ghost stories. And then they started kind of playing tricks on each other, that they added that element to it. So in the second half of the 19th century, during the Irish potato famine, millions of Irish immigrants flooded the States, and Halloween became a bigger deal. They came over and they were like, no, this is how you actually do it. Let me tell you all about this crazy shit that happens over in Ireland. Fairies and banshees, all kinds of crazy shit. And the Americans, like the rest of the English, American, whatever they were, they're just like, woo, mind blown. This is crazy. Let's do this. This is fun. And so people began wearing costumes, kind of like they were wearing costumes to protect themselves before. Now I think it's more for fun. And they brought the whole divination thing to them about the whole psychic ability. Ooh. So a lot of women would do different types of kind of tricks or divination spells, rituals to try to find out who their future husband would be. Okay. That was a part of Halloween. I don't think that's a part of Halloween anymore. Most people just dress like sluts and go out to bars. What? So, I guess it does help you find a man for sure.
Sure. Guess it depends on the costume.
Yeah.
Choose wisely.
But don't you see that? Like so many costumes now, it's like there's like the gory costumes and then there's the slutty costumes. And that's about all you get to pick from.
Yeah, if you go to Party City and look at the wall, every costume that is a, supposed to be scary costume, I think it has slutty in the front of the word. So it's like slutty it costume or slutty saw costume or, it's like that.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Hold on a second now.
Slutty Saw costume?
The character from Saw, not like a
totally
saw.
No.
Okay,
I totally know what you're talking about. That's what I was envisioning. I'm just like, show me that costume. It is the only time, I imagine for so many people that you can kind of let go of your inhibitions and then just be whatever you want. So
I think it's number 142, Wendy. You just got to go to the wall and ask the guy with the headset. And you got it.
We've never told anybody that's how that's not how we first met necessarily, but we both worked for Party City.
No, that's never come up on this podcast before.
Yeah.
We worked at Party City. Yeah, that was my first job.
Yeah, it was my second job. I lied to work at K&B Toys when I was 15 for the Christmas season. But when you work the wall, I don't know how it currently is. Because now there's Amazon and you can go online and just order your costume and it comes to your house and shit. But back in the day, working at Party City during the Halloween season, you worked on the way you referred to it is that you worked on the wall and you had a headset or you had a walkie-talkie or something like that. And you had what felt like 8,000 people in front of you.
It did.
Yelling fucking numbers at you. This was Wall Street. And really, they're just trying to get the Mickey Mouse costume in their child size. And you're calling it out. And then somebody at the door in the stock room is like, we are out of it. And you're having to tell them we're out of it. And they're like, I'm going to fucking kill you. You don't have my Mickey Mouse costume that I have to have. And it's
you have a completely different memory of this.
This is what I experienced.
I experienced the wall too, and they always put me they had different parts of the wall. So you had the adults, the teenagers, and the children's wall. And I always got put on the children's wall, and probably because I was just wacky as fuck. So they're like, Chris can handle it.
Shit.
But whatever, I'm not bashing it because back then, I was so happy to have that as my first job. I loved it.
There are so many funny stories that come out of there. Back to this Halloween special. Somehow Americans made Halloween stupid. Somehow by the 1950s, though, Halloween in America, it just got fucking crazy. Like, kids were only doing the trick part. Is that right? Yeah. They were only doing the trick part. They were just wilding out, and they were breaking shit and toilet paper houses and egging stuff. And
Wow.
if you watch an episode of Drunk History, they have one on this about how it was just madness and out of control. And in this small town, these people were like, we got to do something about this. And so they started throwing carnivals like on Halloween night to try to occupy the kids. And it took a couple of years, but they finally got the right amount of carnival games and sugar overload that they were able to like put these kids in sugar comas after everything. And then they wouldn't go out and break shit, you know? So Halloween went back to more of a like relax. Let's trick or treat. Let's do fun things. Let's wear costumes. Let's not just break people's shit. Because it was getting to that point.
Wow, thankfully. That's nice. I'm glad that something changed there.
Thank you for fixing that.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure how it went from being like, let's protect and prepare ourselves from what darkness might be possessed when the veil is the thinnest between the two worlds, you know, what the Celtics believed.
Ooh.
Of like, it's the time that the spirits and the ghost can really come out. And then like a little later on, they were like, this is the time that we visit with grandma who had passed last year. And then all of a sudden Americans, you know, in the 1950s are, like I said, just like tearing up your lawn.
Jesus.
I don't know how that happened, but yes, very much thankful to that community. That individual, maybe. Drunk History kind of puts it on one person, though I could not find it because on YouTube you have to pay $1.99 to watch Drunk History episodes.
Lovely.
Which I have it, so I didn't want to bother with it. But anyways, they kind of changed things and it went back to Halloween being fun. So now Halloween is the second biggest holiday in the United States for sure. Maybe what I read even said world next to Christmas. Like people spend almost $6 billion or something insane on Halloween.
Right.
So because of Halloween and to honor the Celtic tradition, the homeland for myself, kind of somewhat the 30% of my ancestry. It's more than that though, just so you know. But anyway.
Now I know.
I think. Okay, so as my thanks to Ireland and those surrounding areas of my favorite holiday, I'm going to share with you tonight a few of Ireland's best haunts that are super easy for all of you to experience. So maybe even on All Hallows Eve, people can make plans to visit these spots. And I 100% believe we have to go to Ireland one day.
That'd be awesome.
And I don't know what the weather's like during Halloween, but I will like go through a snowstorm to be there for Halloween. All right. So let me tell you some ghost stories. So this is a collection. It's a couple of ghost stories from Ireland because there's not a whole lot of evidence for each one. They're just kind of short stories. So that's why I picked a few. And these are not like the most haunted places in Ireland necessarily, though they were pretty fucking cool stories for me. And then they are all accessible places.
Ooh.
There might be places that you need to be on a tour for or something like that they have open hours, but they're pretty flexible. They've got a lot of time for you to go and see this. So my first place and my favorite place is the St. Michan Church. St. Michan's Church is situated behind Dublin's Four Corners on Church Street. It was originally founded in 1095.
Come on.
With a rebuild in 1685.
Oh.
The church is still fully functional. You can go to mass there every second Sunday. The interior hasn't really changed since the Victorian era. Sorry. It even says times on my paper. I guess I just wanted to make it harder for myself to mispronounce a word. But what lies beneath is even more fascinating than the church itself. Under the church, through large metal chain doors and down a narrow stone stairway, are burial vaults containing the mummified remains of many of Dublin's most influential 17th, 18th, and 19th century families. No one's sure how the bodies have really stayed preserved in these mummified states, but they think it's the dry atmosphere down in the vaults or the fact that the walls are made of limestone.
Okay.
Or the church was apparently built on swampland, so there's methane gas that's leaking up from the soggy ground.
Oh, and that would help them stay.
Yeah, because there wasn't any like ritual done to these bodies to help them stay like that, but they're very well intact for such old bones, basically.
Yeah. Wow.
Or bodies. The vaults were owned by wealthy families, and some coffins are highly decorated with gold studs and fancy plate. Inside several of the individual cells in the vaults, you can find coffins that are just stacked on each other. Because I watched a YouTube video, and I'll post it to social media what I can, because of the length of the video. But they're just kind of setting on top of each other in these like closets.
Wow.
Very like fancy kind of coffins, but they're generations of families and they're just on top of each other, and some of the wood boxes are starting to collapse. So you can see into the coffins, and there's like bones and arms and legs spilling out of the coffins.
Oh boy.
The most visible mummies are called the Big Four. It's 4 mummified corpses which have no lids on them. They're open and they're on display and they're all together. They're still very lifelike with leathery skin still on the corpses. However, they're covered by like layers of dust, so it's a little like you don't see it all that clear.
Sure. I bet it looks like a Halloween prop. Like if you were looking at that in person, you'd be like, yeah, it's not real. I don't buy that. It looks like someone's Halloween props.
I don't know if we had said this before on another podcast. Remember I was talking about that one that like was used. It was an actual mummified type corpse, but it was mummified with like wax. And it got passed down so many years that people were using it as a Halloween.
I remember that.
Yeah. I imagine it can be deceiving like that. Like you think that's what you're looking at, but that's not at all it. It's a real person. Okay. There's 4 mummified corpses which have no lids on them, and their coffins are just on display altogether.
I didn't realize that. There's got to be like a plexiglass or something on top of them, right?
Oh, no.
What? They're just out? Wait.
Listen to this shit. We're going to Ireland. Listen to this. Still, they're very lifelike because they have leathery skin that's unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, that's kind of morbid.
Fortunately, they're old and ugly now. They're
dirty. But when you think about like, these are like, really old corpses. They should be like dust at this point. So when they say mummified, it's not just that their bones are still there. They have like this leathery skin on them, but they're covered in dust. So I think that's in the photos, they look just like skeletons.
Yeah.
But I think up close, you would see more of like the skin, and it would be a lot more terrifying.
So, Ireland, they didn't do any like legit mummification style.
Fuck no.
So there was no pulling out the brains or removing the organs.
No.
Okay, so all of that shit was still in these corpses. They just deteriorated in such a manner that they still look complete. They're pretty much intact with this dusty skin.
They look just like skeletons. They don't look like people.
Were their organs there? Like, can you see them? Like, are they like dry rot? Okay.
No. It's not like that. I will post pictures on our social media, and I'll send you pictures if you want. They look just like skeletons. They don't look like, because they're 800-year-old corpses. But the fact that their bones even still exist and stuff, that's impressive apparently. And that's when they say mummification, it's because they still have like skin on them, on the bones and whatnot. But you don't see like, it's not like looking at a corpse, just a dead person. It's a skeleton.
Wow. All right.
And it's a skeleton covered in dirt and dust also. One of the corpses is like 6.5 feet tall, which for that time and for that area, I mean, that's like a fucking giant. They said that his arm is like tucked behind his back, and they think it's because they couldn't fit him necessarily in the
Oh,
coffin. So they're
damn.
just like shoving him in there.
6.5 feet tall.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I've seen people that are taller, but for this time, that
Yeah,
was
what was that time frame again? Because I just want to remember.
they think 800 years ago.
Oh, okay. I just can't that's insane. And then they had to like wrap his arm around his back just to stuff him in the coffin.
Yeah, these are like tiny coffins too. I'll have to send you the pictures. I should have sent them so that you can like visually see them while I tell you the story. But like they're old wooden coffins that are like that coffin shape, not even like just a square box. And so, like the triangle kind of like downward shape.
Yeah.
And they had tried to fit this giant man in there. So they
Whoa.
think that he was a soldier who had returned from the Crusades. You asked me about the plexiglass. He lies with one of his hands slightly in the air, stretched out of the casket. And legend has it that those that touch his finger will have good fortune.
Oh my God.
So
everybody's up there touching on this dead man's finger.
Yes, for a long time, people were encouraged to shake his finger for good luck. I feel like the fact that it said for a while it was encouraged means it's not anymore. So stop that shit.
I bet his finger is probably not still even there, right? I would assume it's gone at this point.
I mean, I'm not sure about that, but I think somebody was like, yeah, no, if they keep, like, probably back in the 80s, they finally realized, they were like, you keep touching on this fucking shit. It's like stalactites and stalagmites and caves. Stop killing these fucking bones. Like, it's messing it up with your nastiness on your hands.
Wow.
But yeah, nope, that people were touching all over this mummified corpse for years and hopefully getting good fortune out of it.
Do you have any stories of reports from these people who had good fortune?
I don't, but you know, if it got passed around by the Irish, it's true. So, you know, somebody had a good day out of it. There's another mummy down there that's pretty popular, and his name, or they call him the Thief, because his feet and his forearm is cut off, which was a common punishment for that type of crime. But some speculate, wondering if they cut off his feet just to fit him in the casket.
What they do with his feet? They just throw it in the garbage. They're just like, yeah, he's not gonna need him, so just
yeah. I mean, I could totally see that logic right there. They're like, we gotta get him in this damn box, and he's too tall, so.
Cut off his feet.
What do they do with them though? Just throw them in the corner of the vault?
You know, I would assume that they would just like, you know, kind of tuck them underneath the corpse, but they would have found the feet by this point if they were still in the box, right?
That makes a whole lot of sense. I would hope they would do that. And so it's probably a better story that he is a thief and he had those things cut off due to his crimes.
Wow.
So further into the vaults, the atmosphere is said to change, and several people have reported hearing whispering around them, lots of whispering that they can't make out.
Is it in English?
Most Irish people do speak English now, though it's mostly because their language didn't get passed down. So I don't know. I don't know if they don't understand it because it's so old, or if I don't know when that was, the change between the Gaelic and the English.
Yeah.
I found that, oh no, I didn't find that. Oh, no. I did find that. I wrote this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Wendy, you didn't find anything. You've never been to Ireland. But no, what I'm writing is as I search the internet, the most common piece of evidence that there's something going on down in those vaults was the whispering. That was the thing most reported. So I found that the most popular experience is the whispering. Everybody seems to hear that when they're down there.
That's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just down there in the tomb with all of these mummified corpses and you just hear creepy fucking whisper.
One guy that was, I guess, blogging or whatever, that he and his girlfriend were kind of got to be down there by themselves, and they just sat for a really long, they sat for as long as they could until more people started to show up. And they just sat to listen to these whispers, and they were trying so hard to make them out. So you have a good point about maybe the fact that they can't make out what they're saying is because they're not necessarily speaking a language they're familiar with.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool to experience. Others report the feeling of being watched. Some people have apparently even experienced being touched by unseen hands. And there was one young lady that she had a blog that her and her mother had went down there, and her mother had went to the further part of the vaults, and her mother said that she all of a sudden felt like she could hear voices, and so she kind of pauses to listen to these voices and try to make them out. But then she felt like something was pressing in around her as if she was being surrounded by spirits, and she felt like she was kind of out of control. She felt this oppressive vibe in her body, like that she wasn't necessarily in control of herself anymore. I think until her daughter kind of snapped her out of it and they, exited. St. Michael's Church, or maybe just the vaults, can be toured for a small fee. I actually have no clue how much it costs, but
I was pulling out my converter because I was so sure you were going to tell me euros.
Oh, no, I didn't write it down, but it was in euros, but it was saying things like 4 and 5. And I was like, sounds cheap to me. I don't
like €5?
Yeah, until I looked at like another site and it had prices, and I was like, maybe I'm wrong about this cheap thing on it being 4 and 5. I don't know. Maybe all the stuff I looked at was cheap tours, but it seems affordable, and they're open Monday through Friday during the busier seasons, and they're definitely open every Saturday, and it's like from 10 to 12:45. But there are ghost tours, and they have like night tours if you want to be down in the vaults at night. So if you're in Ireland, or if you're planning an Ireland trip in Halloween, I bet this is a bumping time to like fucking visit these vaults.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I mean, and they're in Dublin, so like if you're in America and you're flying, I mean, I imagine you're going to pick like a popular city to fly into and whatnot, and to make your Ireland trip, and you're probably going to start in Dublin or end up in Dublin at some point, so you can definitely go see it.
I just saw the mummies.
Oh,
I see them.
I forgot to tell you about one big thing. So the reason that I got hooked on this St. Michael's mummies was because I was watching a YouTube video that was talking about the legends of Ireland. So there are some people that believe that these St. Michael mummies, every full moon will like go and raid the damn street.
What?
In the neighborhood, because the church is just in the middle of a neighborhood, that on a full moon, they will raid the streets and they will enter the homes of anybody that everybody is asleep. They won't go in houses that people are awake. But if everybody's asleep, they'll go in there and suffocate you.
Oh, okay. So like they're having to live the whole Axeman murder thing like every full moon, basically, in this neighborhood.
Yes, which October 23rd, 24th, and 25th is a full moon. So if you live in that area of Dublin, watch the fuck out.
Right.
Lock your door. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a key. The door has to be unlocked. They're not rude.
Stop it.
They don't break locks. And so as long as you lock your door, you can go to sleep. I almost forgot that story because I could not find any evidence that anybody's ever seen these mummies walk the streets. Yeah. But this church has been here a long time. So
that's crazy.
Maybe it happened one full moon and everybody started locking their doors, because like who doesn't lock their doors anymore? So the mummies had two stipulations. The whole family or whoever in the house needed to be asleep, and the door had to be unlocked. They weren't breaking locks. And so people were like, well, just lock your fucking door. And so now the mummies don't come out in the full moon.
Because they're walking around and they're trying doors and they're like, this door's locked.
That one's locked. They're like, George, is it locked over there? Yeah, Pete, it's locked. Norman, is it locked down there? Well, look, I'm 800 fucking years old.
I'm tired.
I don't have time for this. And so they're just like, let's just go back to our coffins. Okay. Ugh, that was exhausting. Yeah, they're like old grumpy men now, so they don't do that.
Funny.
There's actually some ladies down there. There was like some side stories about like some of the other mummies. It was like people thought they were a nun. What? A nun.
Oh, really?
I was about to say numb. I
Oh, well, yeah.
never thought they were
I bet they
numb.
were.
I bet they are.
Just a tad.
But they didn't have much more to the story, so I didn't tell you that. So anyways, next location in Ireland that you can visit, though I bet you can only visit this during the day, it's the Aulren. It's not at all how you pronounce it probably, though. I put it in Google and that's how it sounded to me. How you spell it is Aughrhin.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, so I heard Aulren. It's the Aulren, I'm going to just keep calling it that, battlefield, and it's near Galway. There was a famous battle that took place here in 1691 involving 40,000 men in a day-long conflict. Just one day.
Wow.
It was crazy bad. It was the last kind of interaction or engagement, battle engagement between the forces between William the Orange. Always wondered how he got that name. And because I read about him in like early Western civilization, or something like that. But I'm like, who the fuck, William the Orange? Anyways, and James II, who were both battling it out for the crown of Britain and Ireland. At first, the battle looked as if James' forces were going to win this thing. And then all of a sudden, their general, who it was Saint Ruth. I mean, it says St. Ruth, so I guess he's a saint.
Yeah.
Saint Ruth, he was decapitated by a cannonball.
Ooh.
So they're like winning the battle, and then their general loses his damn head, and the rest of the forces are like, oh, what the fuck do we do? So they started retreating, and William the Orange's forces just kind of like attack on them, pounce on them,
Yeah.
and they killed 7,000 men
Ooh.
in that one day.
Man, I bet the whoever had shifted the cannon in that direction got himself a super awesome high five. I bet they were just like, James, high five you, sir. You know, I mean, that was
a good shot.
good shot.
You get that like miracle shot when you throw a basketball over your shoulder,
Right.
and it makes the point. I mean, you're so right, because you don't fucking try for headshots with cannons, you know? So, I mean, he was like, what the fuck did I just do? I mean, he was just amazed as everybody else. He's like, did you see that? You're probably all like, oh my God. Oh shit, they're getting away, guys. Let's go.
Get your sword.
So, yeah, go for it. They're running away because they're freaked the fuck out too that you just did that. So they end up winning, and like all these men won. I mean,
Wow.
all these men died. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry. James's guys, I mean, but William the Orange,
Right.
I guess they won that battle. One area of the battlefield became forever known as the Bloody Hollow. It was an area where human blood contained in a pool long after the battle. So the mangled corpses of James's forces, James II's forces, remained on the battlefield unburied for almost a year.
Come on.
Nobody came to clean this shit up. So blood just started like pooling into this one area that was like lower, you know, in a hollow. And so it was called the Bloody Hollow. But people would ride by this battlefield, and so the bones of the bodies, they started to turn like bright bleach white, just due to the elements in the area. So people would travel past this area, and they mistook the bones, the white bones, for sheep out in the field. Look at those sheep out there, you know, when you're driving in the car.
Yeah.
You're like, cows, look. And
That never move.
then all of a sudden you're like, those sheep look funny. They're not moving. That's because they're bones. Some people have seen apparitions of soldiers, not shoulders.
Damn.
Soldiers in you. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that for me. I was confused.
Let me
Whoa.
paint the picture. Let's stop.
Well, I'm still thinking of the bones, and then you're talking about shoulders. I mean, I can see it. Apparitions of shoulders. Well, of course, because there was nothing but bones out there forever.
That's true. That would be fucking creepy to see the shoulder floating around. So people have seen apparitions of soldiers in uniform, and they're just apparently staring off into the distance, and then they would just like dissipate and disappear into the air. The ghosts seemed dazed and stunned, perhaps still in shock of losing the battle that they almost won. They were so close to winning until that like epic cannonball shot there. There is a general air of gloom, people say, on the site, particularly around the spot where St. Ruth was killed. And now there is a marker, a Celtic cross made of stone that's in that spot. So people say it feels very like sad in that area. So again, like I said, you can tour these battlefields. They have a whole seems like they have a whole visitor center and whatnot that tells you like there's self-guided tours. Head that way. There you go. And so yeah, that's a spot you can. But I bet it's only during the day.
When did they put up that marker? Do you have information on that?
No, I have no idea. But I bet it's beautiful too.
Did you see pictures of it?
I saw pictures of the battlefield full of sheep, by the way, not bones. They were real sheep.
Oh.
So
right.
I think like somebody really does use the farm I think they use that area still to like put their livestock out in. Because that's the photos that I saw, and I'd love to go hang out with some sheep or whatever. I'm sure it's very picturesque, as well as hanging out there long enough to see if you see some shit go down. Yeah.
I mean, look, over there, it's been around for a lot longer, clearly.
Yeah, that's one of the oldest churches in Dublin, or on that side of Dublin.
It's just, to me, I've never lived around anything like that. So for me, it's like, yeah, heck yeah, I'd love to live in a haunted house. No big deal, right? It's fine, whatever, I could take it. This guy is farming on haunted land. I mean, he's got his sheep out there eating the grass from the, I mean, where all that blood.
Imagine what the sheep see.
I know, right? And the sheep are just like,
they're just like eating grass, looking up like, ooh, who are you? And then they're gone, and they're like, that's fucking
the sheep
weird.
are like haunted shoulders everywhere. The shit bad.
They're probably more so wondering why like large groups of people are coming out there all during the day, like snapping photos like crazy and stuff.
Yeah, that's so funny.
They're like, what the fuck is the big deal about them? I just took a shit over in that spot. Do you think they're taking a picture
The things
of it?
these sheep must think.
But battlefields are always interesting. We've been to one ourselves and didn't have like a huge experience or anything. A very small one outside of Tennessee. You go to a lot of forts and stuff out where you're at right now. I want us to go to Gettysburg one day. So you know how active those places are and the residual sounds and feelings that you can get from those locations.
But yeah, I did a fort. You know, when I went and did the lighthouse and the fort were a 2-for-1 package when I did the investigation last year over here.
That's right. Yeah.
That was cool. So I don't like heights whatsoever, but I'm on a paranormal investigation and I'm with people who are already freaked out about the paranormal. So I got to look like the big badass because I got the paranormal equipment. We go up to the lighthouse and they're like, do you want to go out onto the roof? And I'm like, okay, either one of two things is going to happen here. I'm going to go out there and look like an awesome badass, or you're going to push me off the ledge and I'm going to die. So,
like when those people in New Orleans asked us to go in the woods, and I was conflicted. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's what serial killers ask people.
Exactly.
And then I was like, but I can't look like a wuss, so let's go out into the woods with you.
That's what I did.
And luckily they didn't kill us.
They didn't kill us because we're still here. But I weighed my options. There were already 2 people out there, and I'm like, they would have already pushed those people off. So I went out there and did it. That was a cool thing to do.
You're looking at this all wrong. Are they bigger than you? I mean, like, if you're the smallest one out there, that's dangerous.
Actually, we were all about the same stature. The kind of body build and everything.
Good.
Yeah, we were all about the same type.
I'm small, but I'm mean, so I don't think people. I'm very standoffish, so people I think they're like, don't fuck with her. I don't know what she's got on her. Anyways, one last place. Gotta end on a good Irish note. It's a fucking bar. It's a pub.
Of course it is. Nice.
Of course, got to include a pub that you can go to. You visit the battlefield during the day. I actually have no idea how close these things are to each other. But you go to the battlefield during the day. You hit I would want to hit the vaults. Low evening or whatever on a full moon.
Of course.
And then you hit Grace Needles, though it looks like nails, like Neils.
Oh.
But somebody pronounced it, Irish people pronounced it Needles because I listened to them talk about it. There was a whole paranormal group that went there
Ooh.
and did an investigation,
Cool.
and they kept saying Needles. So Grace Needles Bar is one of the oldest pubs in Ireland. It's in a city, but I'm not going to tell you the city because I'm going to say it wrong.
All right.
You know, just it was really long and it starts with a D. If you Google
Ireland.
if you Google Grace Needles, and I'll spell it for you so you can Google it and find it. Her last name is Neill. It's built in 1611. The pub was originally known as the King's Arms, but was renamed after Grace Needles, who ran the inn for many years until her death in 1918 at the age of 98. She was 98.
Woman!
That's
You're kidding me.
That's a lot.
Running that bar?
Yeah, she was running that bar. That was her life. She loved that place.
Whoa.
So Grace was an Irish woman with a big personality.
I bet.
What Irish woman isn't? And liked to keep a watchful eye on things at her inn. Like, this is her fucking place. So she's a control freak, basically. I can empathize. She hasn't let her death interfere with her work at the pub. She is the ghost that they don't really suspect that any other spirit is there but her.
Nice.
As old as this bar is, most people have really only interacted with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me, Grace, is it like cleaning the tables and like doing the dishes?
Yep, she just standing behind the bar, still watching things, and sometimes glasses fall, because maybe she don't have her ghost powers on just right, and she drops the glass. I don't know. She is 98 years old.
I might have seen this one on TV.
Really? Because I had never heard of this before, and I found it, and a group had gone there, and I watched the group investigation and everything. They were doing cool shit too. They scried in a mirror.
Ooh, did they?
Yes, they did. And I was
That's really cool.
What paranormal groups do you see doing that? I love the Irish people because they love all that stuff. And so they had two people looking in mirrors and drawing out what they had seen or whatever. And then plus they were doing other more electronic, technical kind of experiments. So the ghost of the old woman in Victorian clothing has been spotted in dark corners of the inn, and her spirit can be seen in the front of the bar, straightening glasses, and that's where some people have reported they've seen glasses just kind of move and fall on their own. So I don't know if Grace is getting sloppy or if sometimes she's this glass is dirty and throws it off the bar.
Wow, that's how you tell them to make sure that they clean them glasses better by smashing them.
You're not handling it the way I would. The furniture and switching of the lights on and off. So furniture's moved and the lights have turned on and off. Strange shuffling can often be heard coming from the second floor, and some have even felt the invisible presence pass through them.
Whoa.
While standing near the building's staircase.
No. That's wild.
But patrons visiting Grace Needles, the bar, have nothing to worry about. The former caretaker of the inn is as friendly as ghosts come. Grace ran a welcoming establishment while she was alive and continues to do so in the afterlife.
I love her. What a friendly ghost, though. She's basically there to just make sure that house is still in order. She's still hanging out. I mean, sure, she smashes a glass here and there. And that's what I saw. I'm going to have to go and look at some videos because I remember seeing that on TV where they were talking about haunted places and stuff, but I don't remember exactly where this one was. So it might not be this bar. It might just be some other haunted bar where glasses get smashed. I was going to ask that, but I didn't want to jump in case that was going to be a big part of your story.
No, there is a Irish group out there that had done an investigation and they had interviewed the people that work there. And there was an employee that said they had seen shit move at the bar. And a glass had fell on the ground and stuff. So I realized that you kind of hear that report from a lot of bars. Shit, we've seen it on film before, I think, on some of those, on some paranormal show. I think I've watched a whole glass fall off of a shelf before. So many glasses, it's a common probably thing that happens at a bar, but they did report that here as well. And so I'm assuming she's oops. slipped and dropped it herself, or she thought that shit was dirty and not necessary.
The Mexican restaurant that I go to in, I think it's Concord. It's called somebody's name Margaritas. I don't remember if it's Don Juan's Margaritas or it's like I said, it's somebody's name Margaritas, but it's in a former jail. The jail was about to be torn down. I've told you this 100 times, right?
Yeah.
So the jail was about to be torn down. They saved it by buying it, renovating it, and turning it into this restaurant. And the restaurant is now haunted. And one of the sorry, my voice is getting really scratchy there all of a sudden. I turned into a really old lady.
Are you possessed?
Yeah, it just happened. One of the biggest reports there is that, like, if you get a drink or whatever, like you get a margarita, is that your drink will get drunk for you. Is that it'll get drank for you? No, it'll get it, and that kind of pisses me off because no, I'm not going to order you a margarita, sir, but at the same time I do want to see some paranormal activity. So if I have to order you one and myself one, and then if I just have to finish them both, so be it.
If nothing happens, or if you never get up from your table.
I won't be. You'll have to carry me out because they make them strong there. But I've gone there several times, and you can eat in the jail cells, and they say that you can get whispers. Your drinks will get moved. They will get, like I said, drank or drunk. They will get drunk. It sounds so weird. Your drinks.
It is correct, though.
Which one? Drank or drunk?
Drunk, I think.
Something will mysteriously drink your drinks. How about that?
That sounds good. That's like when we were in Jerome at the...
Oh, the haunted burger or whatever?
Yeah. Did they say our burgers were going to get eaten or our drinks? Because we had drinks too. So
that was a fun place. I loved it.
Yeah, and it was good. And then I left my purse there.
and then they got weird. So everything was cool while you're patronizing their facility, but then you leave and come back and like, whoa, I lost my purse, and they're like,
hey, where's my purse? And no, everybody's ignoring me like I'm a fucking ghost standing in the place. Okay, yeah, so that's my Halloween episode, or our Halloween episode. Good. I'm so selfish.
It's all yours.
It's like I'm talking to myself the whole time.
And that was my episode about me.
Me, and my Irish history. Blah, blah, blah. So people that are subscribing to our podcast, thank you. And follow us on Instagram at COTN Paranormal. And also for Facebook, it's the same thing. COTN Paranormal Facebook page. You can follow us there. Leave us comments about the stories that we read today. Anything you want to say. If it's ugly, maybe email us instead, just so we can talk it out before you make it public. I appreciate that. And our Gmail account is creaturесofthenight@gmail.com.
That's right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. We love you guys for listening, and
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Bye.